Real changes in the Kremlin's policy towards Ukraine, real prospects for peace will arise only when Russian dictator Vladimir Putin loses his sense of complete impunity. A serious foreign policy or domestic shock is needed to radically change the situation. Such an event could be, for example, the fall of the Iranian Ayatollah regime. If the collapse of a theocratic dictatorship, which was recently considered stable, occurs, it will become a precedent and a symbol for other authoritarian leaders, including Putin, when the same tough signals are sent to Moscow as are being sent to Tehran. For example, US President Donald Trump's statements that the US knows the whereabouts of Ayatollah Khamenei at any moment. This could change the Kremlin's behavior. For now, the Kremlin dictator continues to insist on Ukraine's surrender, the only way to consider the numerous demands made by Moscow in negotiations with Ukraine. This opinion was expressed by Russian oppositionist Olga Kurnosova. She says that as long as Putin is at the helm in Russia, it is not worth waiting for the end of this war, at least while he is confident in himself. It is definitely not worth it. Something very serious has to happen. For example, he has to run out of money to fight this war, or he has to see the Ayatollah regime fall and understand that such things are possible. So far, it's clear that he's been climbing everywhere to pretend to be a peacemaker in Iran. But listen, you're waging a war by attacking Ukraine, and you're telling me what kind of peacemaker you are? Are you out of your mind? When he sees that situations can be resolved completely differently. As Trump said, the state knows where Ayatollah Khamenei is at every moment. When the same words are said to Putin, and when he understands that there are means that can destroy him at any moment, perhaps then he will be more accommodating, she added. Putin's main goal is definitely not 4 regions of Ukraine plus Crimea, and not even all of Ukraine, which he still wants to have under control. Putin's main goal is to gain greater control over at least all the republics of the former Soviet Union. It is no coincidence that so much attention is now being paid to Moldova, and in the long term, to control the countries of the former socialist bloc, the countries of Eastern Europe. Yes, it may be a direct military presence, but we see the number of agents that are now being deployed in Europe, and we see that Putin's Russia continues to destabilize the situation in Europe. Therefore, as long as Putin remains in power, no one will be able to live peacefully, not only Ukraine, but also other European countries, she told.
Ukrainian forces continue to hold around 90 square kilometers of territory in Russia's Kursk Oblast, according to Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, General Alexander Syrskyi. Syrskyi's latest statement countered Moscow's claim in April that the operation to purge Kiev troops in the region has been completed. He claims that the operation has blocked a planned Russian assault on the Pokrovsk direction in Donetsk Oblast by forcing the redeployment of enemy troops. Syrskyi, speaking to journalists, has confirmed that Ukrainian forces remain in control of approximately 90 square kilometers in the Glushkovo district of Kursk Oblast. He explained that the operation prevented a large-scale Russian advance toward Pokrovsk by anchoring enemy troops in place. Our active operations in the Glushkovo district of Kursk Oblast disrupted these plans. As a result, those units were not relocated to other directions. One of the brigades already moving toward the Pokrovsk direction was returned to Kursk, Syrskyi said. Syrskyi also highlighted that the Kursk operation had earlier drawn in nearly 63,000 Russian soldiers and about 7,000 North Korean troops, reducing pressure along other fronts and enabling Ukrainian forces to regroup. Currently, roughly 10,000 Russian troops are engaged in combat within Glushkovo, according to Syrskyi. Meanwhile, near the northeastern border in the Pivnikno-Slobozky direction, north of Kharkiv and Sumy oblasts, Russia has amassed around 50,000 personnel, including 2 airborne divisions, 4 main brigades, the 177th Marine Regiment from the Caspian Flotilla, and other units. Despite the buildup, Russian forces advancing from Kursk into Sumy Oblast have been stopped just several kilometers inside Ukraine, along the line of Kindrativka, Andrivka, Yablonivka, and Unikivka. Syrskyi stated that the focus is on combining defensive actions with active defense and localized offensives. This approach allows holding positions and striking where the enemy is weaker. According to him, passive defense under current conditions only leads to losses, both in territory and personnel. Therefore, we combine defensive actions with active defense and offensive operations. That is, where possible, we strike the enemy and conduct counterattacks. We advance where we see weak spots in the enemy's defense, he said. Syrskyi reported that to implement this active tactic, separate assault units have been created. They appeared during the Kursk operation and are currently fighting on almost all the most intense fronts.
The Ukrainian Defense Forces have stopped production at one of Russia's most important defense enterprises. The Academician A.G. Shipunov Instrument Making Design Bureau in Tula has stopped working after being attacked twice in 3 days. This was reported by the Russian opposition publication Astra, citing informed sources. The first attack occurred on June the 18th. Then, 5 Ukrainian drones broke through to the plant. They hit the power substation, several warehouse buildings with finished products, and the administrative building. A strong fire started on the territory of the plant, covering about 400 square meters. 2 nights later, on June the 20th, the plant was hit again. This time, a Ukrainian drone crashed into the hangar used for shipping finished products. The roof and walls of the building sustained serious damage. Emergency service sources say the plant was severely damaged in both attacks and has been forced to shut down. The A.G. Shipunov Instrument Design Bureau in Tula is a key enterprise in Russia's defense industry. It develops precision weapons for the Army, Navy, and Air Force. The plant produces air defense systems, rapid-fire guns, and small arms, as well as a range of civilian products. Recently, Ukrainian drones struck multiple military targets in Russia, including the Tambov gunpowder plant. The plant, one of Russia's main manufacturers of gunpowder and explosives for small arms, artillery, and rocket systems, caught fire following the drone strike. The Tambov facility has been targeted several times since November 2023. And U.S. sanctions were imposed on it that same year. Tambov Oblast, located southeast of Moscow, lies hundreds of kilometers from Ukraine and shares no direct border with it. Earlier, unmanned aerial vehicles arrived in 1s and 2s in the airspace above Russia's central Ivanovo region, striking the Dmitrievsky chemical factory near Kineshma, south of Moscow. Ukrainian drones flew almost to the Ural Mountains into Russia's Tatarstan region to hit a drone factory in the regional capital of Yelabuga. It was one of the longest-range strikes carried out by the Ukrainians thus far in the war, some 1,150 kilometers from the nearest Kyiv-controlled territory. The target was a factory set up in 2023 to produce Iran-designed Shahed kamikaze drones, which are used in almost nightly attacks against Ukraine.